You guys, the 4P model, this is kind of our own way. And there's a couple ways. A, take out your phones and take a picture of this so you have it. This is our model that we came up with. But as we speak to it, you'll see how it speaks to you. This really is why we win. And there's a fun little method you could do for yourself as you think through after this ends and you have time to reflect upon your day. I would ask yourself one question. Why do I win? First and foremost, it's a positive question. It's not asking, why am I a loser? Because that never produces anything great. But why not say, why do I win? Me and Mark asked this very question years ago, and this is why we win. Because we know our purpose, we commit to daily personal development, we commit to daily professional development, not to be misguided as personal development, two separate things, and we commit to putting ourselves in rooms with people that are better than us. The people. These are the 4Ps that make everything in our lives so much easier. We're going to kind of kick through these. So I'm going to go through them really, really quick. But I will tell you, I do want to start with purpose. Many people get into this business, and I'm guilty to say that I was this same way. I got into this business, guys. I had to get in this business. I came home one day in 2015. It was May. I came home and my wife was crying at the dinner table. She didn't know I was coming home early because I rarely came home early because I was in the insurance industry and you just don't make a ton of money in the insurance industry. And so I come home. She's crying at the table. And I said, Wendy, what's wrong? She looks up and I can tell she's been crying a little bit harder than just like a sniffle because it was like the raccoon eyes, right? From her mascara. Like it was dark underneath her eyes. So she'd crying hard enough that it made her mascara smear a little bit. She looks up and she tells me, she says, do we put food on the table tonight? Or do we take the money that we have and do we pay for the mortgage this month? You guys, this is 10 years ago. What some people will look at now and they're like, oh, whatever you touch turns to gold, or oh man, what you've done is so incredible. Guys, 10 years ago, that was the conversation happening in my kitchen. 3 days later, I'm at a local real estate investor association meeting and I go with a different set of ears. I've been going to this local meetup for 5 years. And all I went for, guys, is someone stand up and say, I've got 4 rentals. I'm like, ooh, that's 4 policies I can sell. I'm going to go meet that guy. I never once listened to the guy that said, I picked up this home for 50 cents on the dollar and I made 80 grand on the back end because I wholesaled it. I was like, well, I can't help him. He doesn't have a policy. Guys, I can't make this up. That's how bad it was. That's my ears were just focused on insurance. And so I get into the business for the money. 39 days later, I do my first deal. I couldn't believe it. I was like pinching myself. I'm like, there's no way. I made more money in this one deal than I did my first year, my whole entire year of insurance. It was game changing. And I went all in from that moment going forward. So I'm what I'm about to share with you is what I wish I knew at the beginning stages because I got into it because I needed to. I needed money. I needed to make sure we were paying mortgage and putting food on the table. But we need to connect ourselves to a why. Why do we do what we do? What I want you to do is I want you to think of the highs and lows within your life. Okay. They're called the peaks and the valleys. So, what are some of the moments in your life where you were just like, oh, this was incredible. Like, this was a high. This was a great moment in my life. And then, what were some of the valleys that taught you a lot that you grew from because it was so hard, right? One of my hards was I lost my mom 3 years ago to cancer. It was so rough, guys. Now, to an opposite side, I was 2 years on this part right here. I was 2 years in a place called Honduras, and I was just serving those people down there. I served a 2-year mission for our church, and it was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. I learned that you don't have to have a ton of money to be rich. These people were some of the richest people I know, even though they lived on dirt floor houses. So what do we do with these highs and lows? I'm going to help you kind of map out what you can do so that every day when you wake up, it doesn't feel like work when you wake up. Because I'm so excited about my moment that made me who I am, those 2 years I was in Honduras, there's so many individuals that want to serve a 2-year mission in our church, but can't afford it. The church doesn't pay for it. It's out of your own pocket. And so I make sure that I find those individuals that can't afford the mission and I pay for it. And here's the exciting thing, because that why means so much to me, work ceases to be work. I can wake up and someone can call me and say, take me off your list, you pieces of garbage. I hate you guys. You guys are scumbags. And they tell you things that are just awful words that you're like, geez, what happened to this individual to speak to me like this? But instead of getting mad with them, I'm able to think, it's okay. Next phone call. I've got a missionary to send out on a mission for 2 years. There's people that need my money right now to help them go serve for 2 years. And those 2 years are going to change their life like it changed my life. Next call. And I'm able to pick up the next call. What are some of the lows? Tony Robbins was beat by his parents. He had multiple dads because his mom was in and out of marriages, relationships. His mom would beat him. One Thanksgiving, a guy comes to the door that found out they had no food. He rings the doorbell and he says, Dad, guy's here with this food. The dad comes to the door and says, we don't need your help, and gets ready to shut the door. The guy puts his foot in the door and stops him and says, if you don't want to eat the food, that's great, but don't let your children starve. And he put the food on the table. Tony Robbins remembers that so much that now part of his why is serving millions of families, millions of mouths all across the world during Thanksgiving because of his low moment. He wanted to make sure everyone could feel what he felt the day that gentleman stopped by and shared food for him so that he didn't have to go to bed hungry. Can you see how your highs and lows help create something profound about you, why you exist, why you are who you are? Is there a way you can tie that into making work not feel like work every single day? Because you know X amount of your dollars is going to do X for someone else because it changed your life so much. Work ceases to feel like work. It really is joyous every single day because I know I get to work to send more missionaries out in the world to go serve people. Mark, talk to them through a little bit of professional development.
We're going to share with you your vitals, your business vitals, okay? You broke your arm, you go into the emergency room, and what are they going to check when you go into the emergency room? They're going to check your vitals. Even though you're like, no, it's just my arm. I don't need you to check my blood pressure. I don't need you to check, my heart rate. I just need you to look at my arm hurts, right? But why do they check your vitals? They want to make sure you're not at risk of something more severe, of dying or whatever it is, right? So what are your business vitals as it relates to your efforts in your investment business? It's your LOACC. Now, this is coined, this is a Joe acronym that we use, but I think you're going to find this is going to be incredibly valuable for your business. This is the leads, the opportunities, the appointments, the contracts and closed contracts in your business. And this allows you to have the vitals, the indicators in your business. How am I doing with the leads that are coming in? How am I doing at converting those inquiries? Because that's all a lead is an inquiry. How am I doing at converting these leads to opportunities? Guys, that's a critical metric. What is the percentage of conversion? And are you tracking that in your business? Because that's an indication, am I doing enough when inquiry comes in? Am I quick enough to the lead? Am I responding to all of them? Am I getting in touch with 100% of them? Whatever those things are that you have influence over. Do I have the right person on the phone talking to the sellers? You've got to know the difference between, or you've got to know how well you're doing at converting leads to opportunities. Opportunities to appointments. That's another metric that is a complete, it tells you everything you need to know in your business as it relates to, am I going and visiting with enough homeowners? Am I making enough offers? Am I sitting down in enough homes? Am I taking the appropriate action with sellers? Is my conversion rate from opportunities, those that are saying, raising their hand and saying, yes, I want an offer. Yes, I want a price. Yes, tell me more about your services. Are you going and making and talking numbers and negotiating with a high enough percentage of those? So what does this look like in real life? You've got your leads, opportunities, appointments, contracts, and closes, and there's ratios and they speak to each other. It looks something like this. So let me break this down for you. This is it back behind the scenes. This is one of our franchisees. This is just a screenshot, but it will give you just kind of an indication. And the reason I took this one is because there's some good and some bad from this particular demonstration. Now, this is self-populated for our franchisees. We have our internal CRM, and all our franchisees do is they just operate in their business and it naturally populates this report for them. But I still think you're going to find this incredibly valuable. This franchisee in the last 90 days got 199 inquiries, leads. They got leads. They converted 175 of them. In other words, they said that 175 of the 200 are essentially saying, that's 83.8% are saying, yes, I raising their hand, effectively saying, I'd like more information. I'm interested in selling. Or at a minimum, the franchisee is saying, I'd like to keep this person in a future pipeline to stay in touch with. Maybe they even said, I don't think I'm ready. I'm not really interested. But they got a sense because they were on a probate list or a DealMachine, a property that they know is distressed. they hung on to that lead. So their conversion rate is beautiful. Now they can track how their business is doing relative to how they're managing their leads. Now, there's a major gap here. There's a delta here I don't like. They have 175 opportunities. Guys, if you're on your phone or whatever, if you can see this image, I hope this is helpful to you. They only went on 19 appointments of the 175 people in their pipeline that they're still nurturing. So what, in 30 seconds or less, we can see with our franchisees if they're on track or off track. What by tracking these metrics, we're able to see how the health of their business. This franchisee needs to go on more appointments, because by virtue of going on more appointments, look how they do on their appointments. They got 8 of the 19, right? And of the 8 that they put under contract, 5 closed. By tracking this, they're able to continually improve. Now, you're not using these metrics to compare to your business, because your own market, your own marketing strategies are going to be different. But what you're going to do is you're going to establish a baseline, okay? And by establishing a baseline, now you're able to make the necessary improvements in your business. All right, so I'm going to stop share real quick, and I'm going to pivot to a different screen. So I'm going to, would it be helpful to you guys if you had a way of tracking these vitals in your business? Would that be interesting to you if you had a tool that you could start tracking your inquiries, your leads, your opportunities, how many appointments you're going on, the ratios, and what track you're on? Would that be helpful to you? I'm gonna put an email here, your gift at joehomebuyer.com. If you guys are interested in receiving this, let me show you what you're gonna get here. We're gonna give you now, unfortunately, you don't have access to the CRM. It's gonna be a manual process for you, but I'm telling you, it's worth the effort to track these. Let me show you what we're gonna give you here. We're gonna give you the ability to track leads in your own business, and it can track month 1, month 2, month 3. It's going to give you the ability to do the running total over the 90-day period. But check out how this works, guys. When you get leads in your first week, this is just week 1, you're going to put your total leads in there. You're going to put the leads that you're still following up on, your opportunities. And if you're wondering what the definitions are, they're right here. You're going to track how many appointments you went on, and you're going to track how many contracts that resulted in and how many closes it results in, right? And then you can start to see, how am I doing? What are my conversion ratios? Where do I need to improve? What areas do I need to put focus in? Do I need to do a better conversion ratio from leads to opportunities, or am I doing great at that, but I really just need to go to more homes?
Mark, another thing, a lot of natural questions that come up that everyone be like, what should be our number? Here's what it should be. Better than what it is, but you just need to know what is. Meaning, just get a baseline. Know what your numbers are. Don't compare them to Mark's. Don't compare them to mine. Don't compare them to anyone else. Just find out what your numbers are by starting today to establish a baseline. And then every week you should review these and say, okay, I want to increase by 1% my appointment to contract ratio, or by 5%. And then you just make that your focus. And like, oh, it looks like my appointments to, or opportunities to appointments needs to be fixed. I'm going to jump that up 5%. That's going to be my focus this week. But really what you shouldn't be doing is comparing it to anyone's business as much as just finding out your baseline, where you're at, and improving where you're at to where you want to be.
I love that, Cody. And it's so true. Guys, I don't care where you're starting. If you're only converting 1 out of every 10 inquiry that comes in, 1 out of every 10 lead to an opportunity, then that just gives you a starting point. And that starting point, guys, you can't improve it unless you're tracking it. You have to have eyes on it, right? Your business will improve as you, as the leader of the operation, own the responsibility to track your LOACC, your leads, your opportunities, your appointments, contracts, and closes. And as you track these vitals, now all of a sudden you have the clarity to be intentional about what actions you make and take in your business. That changes everything. That's what you ultimately come to these calls for, is I need more clarity in my business. I need to know what actions to take. I'm telling you, if you track how many leads you're getting, and by the way, if the leads aren't going up, what do you know you're not doing enough of? You're not doing enough DealMachine activities. You're not marketing enough. So you got to do more of that, so you got enough leads that can be converted to opportunities. Guys, we want you to get this gift. We want you to do it. Now, to best navigate this, you're going to get this gift, and you're going to go here. If you're looking at the screen, follow me for 10 seconds here. You're going to go to File, and you're going to make a copy. And the reason you're going to make a copy is because you want to have a version that nobody else is editing, right? So you're going to get the free gift. It's going to be emailed to you. You're going to go to File. Once you open up, you're going to go to File, and you're going to make a copy right here. If you make a copy, you'll be able to play with it forever. You'll be able to title it anything you want.
I just say, Mark, the biggest thing, guys, that I want you to know is why did we come up with this in the first place? Because it truly is the vitals. We've tracked all different metrics in the last 10 years, and we just improved upon itself to this version that you have. You're getting a 10-year improvement upon improvement version. These are the true vitals, guys. These are the vitals you need to be monitoring. Track these. I promise you're going to thank us. Maybe you won't even physically thank us, but I promise you're going to thank yourself for taking action on these vitals. These vitals are the vitals. They are the ones that make all the difference.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.